Anyway, the National Road Safety Council, NRSC, is expressing great concern about the island's alarming runaway road deaths for this year, which now stand at 290. That's a 20% increase over last year's figure. Paula Fletcher is the Executive Director of the NRSC, and she is here to expound on the topic, tell us what we're doing wrong and what we can do to stem that number. You are hopeful that we can stem it?
Well, I have an appeal to make today.
Yeah. Please make it.
I'd like to say to Jamaicans that what we've been doing hasn't been working.
Tell me what
let's
talk about what we've been. So that is the main cause.
That's the main cause that the police tell us when they look at the crash booklets. People are speeding. People are following too near one to another. And if you notice, nobody wants you to get in front of them, you know.
True.
Nobody wants you. So they maintain that there's no breathing space between cars. So if there's anything that happens in front of you,
you can't respond.
You can't respond.
What does the road code say? That you should be at least one car length behind?
Nobody
does that, though.
Do.
Well, very few people do.
Well, that's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, but there would be less accidents if we did.
There would be less crashes if that happened. We
what
also
about
hear from the police. Drinking and driving is there. A study was done some years ago, and it showed a significant enough correlation between persons presenting at the accident and emergency sections of hospitals and alcohol being in their system. So there is that. We haven't done the study recently, but there is that. And I think people are drinking more. And this is a time of year when people
You know what I'm
drink.
curious about? Texting.
Oh, the police tell us that they notice people drifting, just a slight drift out of the lane and coming back in. And when they look, you know, there's a cell phone in their hand, the texting, or even the talking can do it too, you know. So there are lots of things. The roadway and that space that we all have to go into unless we lock up at home is actually pretty dangerous right now.
No, even then you're not safe because sometimes vehicles end up in houses.
Well,
we don't know how.
Well, yes, but you know, that's a small number. It really happens in the space in which we travel as pedestrians, as cyclists, as motorists, and so on. So the appeal I'm making today is, can we all, Jamaica, say, not one more death?
Right.
Not one more injury because we choose to go from point A to point B. We can take that decision, you know. And could we just sort of buy into that for the rest of the year and hopefully onwards that we're going to make decisions and undertake maneuvers that will serve to preserve life, because we know, you know, each of us who takes chances, we know ourselves.
We're looking at the statistics here on screen, and if you could, Paula, 257 fatal crashes and 290 fatalities compared to 247 fatal crashes in 2011 and 292 in 2011. You highlighted some factors just now. Yes, they've been highlighted. What has to happen differently? Like, what are the exact steps that need to be taken for us to bring these numbers down?
Top of my list is electronic surveillance. Okay. We have got to use technology. It works elsewhere. You know, we hear that the particular ministry, and it is true, they don't have the capacity to do the preparatory work, which is putting together a framework, policy framework and legislative framework for this to come into being. But it is just one simple stroke that could change forever.
And by this you mean putting cameras at the stoplights?
Right, that can detect persons who run a red light or detect persons who speed. And it would not depend on a policeman being in position, because that is what it takes, you know, for people to behave in a particular way. And as soon as they pass the policeman, they have to catch up.
Yeah.
What are we rushing to? What is the rush? What's the rush on the streets?
Well, life is complex, I suppose. You know, I think people sometimes too are not giving themselves enough lead time. They don't plan their routes. When you have congestion on the roads, that makes us a totally different creature, you know, because driving is very emotional.
It's true.
You know?
It's true.
So life is just different these days. And, of course, there's a hustle and bustle of not just the legal taxis, but the illegal taxi persons. And when we capture the data, you know, we have the public passenger vehicles and we have other vehicles. A lot of times the robots are in the other vehicles.
Yeah.
That's how you have to capture them.
So all these messages over the years, arrive alive, speeding kills, just kind of we hear it and then it goes through.
Right, because the knowledge is there, but I think we have to enforce
Practice.
the behavior.
All right,
That's
well, the
how we can
police
get
are getting
change.
involved to work with your agency. Tell us what's going to happen this season. You're saying partygoers need to beware. There's a special band and the police will be operating. Should we even tell people?
Yes, I think they should know that for a particular time between late night into early morning, the police will be out there, and they'll be out there with the breathalyzers. And let me get the word out there: the breathalyzers are working. They are working. They have enough handheld devices to do the first test in the roadway, and if it's over a certain limit, then they'll take you to what they call an intoxilizer machine, which will give you the tape that they can then take to court. They'll be along roadways where you have parties, so they're going to identify roadways. Then again, we'll be having a feature that we've been using for the last 5 or so years, a crash car display.
Yeah,
because people have to see visually what can result, and there's not going to be a body in the car, but you can just imagine that when you see these crash cars, people can't survive that, And you say the police, they've been working with us over the years. They're actually a member organization of the National Road Safety Council, so we depend on them a lot at this time to maintain a certain level of calm and peace on the road.
You say you've been using the crashed cars at parties and events for the last 5 years. And the accidents and crashes are still happening.
Yes.
Do we need to get more graphic?
No, I don't think we need to get more graphic. I think the system of enforcement has to change. That's a big part of the equation, And, we have some systemic problems and legal problems with the law where there are persons out there who should not be out there. So know that.
True.
Behind, in front of you, there are persons who should not be sharing the traffic. In fact, they should have lost that privilege long ago because they have multiple demerit points.
Interestingly, when you say that, I recall the last graphic. If we can, producer, bring up the very last graphic based on with the breakdown of the types of individuals that have lost their lives. The number one on the list is actually pedestrians. Yeah. There you go. So 86 pedestrians. So obviously these are not the people operating the vehicles.
No, but they're in the roadway space.
So something has to happen to get the people who are, I guess, irresponsible drivers off the streets, because there are so many people driving around with numerous points off their license and numerous charges.
Tickets unpaid.
So is that more on the governing side of things and less on the individuals?
It's both, really, because, if we know the law, we should go pay our tickets, and that should be a deterrent. But you see, if you can get away with it, it no longer is a deterrent. So there you have the system failing us, and it has failed us in that regard. There's no other way to put it. And until we get that right, so people realize that this is a serious business going on here, they're going to have to pay. When you hit people in their pockets, they do respond.
Yeah, that's when they feel it.
Yeah,
so let's talk about some of the crash hotspots. Extra careful when they're on the roadways.
Well, a lot of them are these nice North Coast Highway,
smooth road.
Yes, Mandela Highway, Lilliput. Because people know it's not a matter of I'm not going to complain. I can have a nice ride. I can now speed.
Yeah, man. Press gas.
Right.
Smooth
and
road.
So the crash spots are known, and the police, they will be out there in their numbers. They're taking people from around the desk who never normally go out. At Christmas time, they put them on the roads. People who are on leave will be recalled, or, this is not a time within the police force. I'm so sorry for them sometimes, but we do have to rely on them until we can use the technology and sort of get a certain order and discipline in the roadway, and an expectation that this is a privilege. You share the road space with a number of persons. You must be mindful.
Lastly, because it is the season, it is a festive season, how important is it for us to develop a designated driver culture?
Oh, Lord, that is a hard sell sometimes, because everybody, when they have the key, it's a rite of passage thing, and you want to be able to go wherever and leave. But it really takes maturity, which is what we're calling on the Jamaican public, the motorists, to develop, to understand that we can't tell people not to drink. But all we're saying is that it's not a good idea to drink and drive.
Right.
Just the capability to really visually focus properly, to really see corners. You know, you get into this thing of, you know, I am invincible, even more so, especially if it's a male ego type thing. So it is really not a good idea. And what we'd want to say is that people usually go out in groups. You know who are the drinkers, and you know perhaps the person who doesn't drink. So just say, come on, guys, let's get with it. Let's not have sad news to tell our families come, you know, the day of our Christmas morning, whatever, because people are hurting, you know.
Yeah, we know.
People are hurting.
Well, good words.
And the system too is suffering. I mean, $2 million debt to the health sector.
Yeah.
$2 billion. Sorry.
Thank you, Paula. A good note on which to leave it. Just think, people. Just think of your actions before you get behind that wheel. Designated driver. Excellent point made by
Could we ask
Jens.
them to put it in their status thing for today? Facebook? Not more deaths.
One more.
Not one more. Let it go viral, people. This is a day of social media. Could we just do that just
Not
for the
one
Christmas
more.
period? No more deaths. Not one more death.
All right, we've got to go. Thank you so much. Executive Director of the National Road Safety Council, Paula Fletcher. Not one more death.